Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 3, and today I'm going to be giving you a new series. What if Naruto had the deadliest bloodline? And as you usually know over here, all of these what ifs belong to me. So this was made originally by Anime King, guys. Part 1 of What if Naruto had the deadliest bloodline. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, I post a brand new episode over Anime King of What if Naruto became the shadow of Konoha, so go ahead and enjoy that guys. And stay tuned for a brand new episode coming over Anime King 2, which I do hope that you guys will enjoy. And remember, for anyone this first time you hear my voice, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support, and yeah, without further ado, what is to begin this new episode? Start the intro. We begin this new series at the unknown time. A man was looking down towards the rushing water below him. The water was raging. The tide of the sea was, well, it would rip any boats to pieces. Definitely not safe for anyone to be in right now. The man had long red hair that reached down into his back. His eyes scanned the water down below him. There was someone standing behind him. The man behind him looked like he was in his late 60s or 70s. He also had red hair but slight patches of white in it, as he had a kind smile on his face. He also looked like he was deeply sorry for something. "Don't be sad," the man that looked over towards rushing water said. "There is still much I don't know about myself yet. And you know why I can't stay. We can find a way to help you," the old man said. "We would never leave you behind, none of us. I know that. That's the exact reason why I have to go. Because if I stay, you guys will try your best to help me. And if I end up hurting one of you, I couldn't live with myself. We have measures to stop that," the old man said. The man seemed to be in his late 20s turn, as he got on one knee and bowed his head. "It's been an honor serving under you, Lord Kazuma," he said. As the old man known as Kazuma looked down towards his subordinate as he walked forward and placed his hand on his shoulder. "I'm so sorry." "Don't apologize," the man said. "It's different. This has never been seen in the history of our clan before. I've already wrote down everything I know about myself so far. If this will ever rise in the future once again, you can pass down the notes to the young ones. But I really hope it doesn't occur once again. I hope I'm the last person that has this." As the man clenched his fists, "This doesn't make you a monster," said Kazuma. "You and I both know that you will never do anything to hurt our people." "I know that, sir," the man said. "But I can't live with myself if one day it becomes too much," the man said. He then finally looked up towards Kazuma as his eyes met Kazuma. His eyes were different, unique, eyes that were never yet seen in the entire world. As Kazuma simply offered him a friendly smile. "I do hope one day that you come back after learning more about yourself," Kazuma said. "Me too, sir." As the man got to his feet and walked towards the edge of the cliff, Natsu, as the man known as Natsu now paused. "You will always be a Uzumaki, no matter what." As Natsu smiled at that, "It's been an honor." With that, he jumped off the cliff into the rushing seas. Surely, it was going to kill him, because he was different, unlike any other ninja this world has ever seen before. As Kazuma walked over towards the edge and looked down, and he saw Natsu surfing on the water. But he was using something was under his feet that was pushing him so fast the water was literally being ripped apart, and it was blowing to either side. The man had to leave because he had a reason. It was because of his bloodline. Time skip to the original time. We begin this at Konoha. Konoha, the village hidden in a leaf. A wonderful village. The village was beautiful. The most powerful village amongst the 5 nations. They had the strongest ninja, the strongest will. After all, they had the will of fire that never backed down. Konoha has been through 3 deadly wars so far. Wars. It's not an easy thing. War would make any man feel inferior because of all the death and all the suffering. But Konoha has moved through it and came out on top each time. Konoha never started a war before, but they always get the other nations to sign Pact of Neutrality to stop their war. The first Hokage fell before the warring arc could start. He was in the clan's war. The second Hokage, after taking the mantle, went to war when Kumo started to get antsy. The second Shinobi War was fought by the Sanins. The legendary Sanins, their name was made in that war when they faced off against Hanzo of the Salamander. And the third Shinobi War was fought by a man who came to be known as the greatest hero of Hidden Leaf, the Yellow Flash, Minato Namikaze, the 4th Hokage, a deadly man in his own right that was able to wipe out thousands of enemies within minutes. After all, when someone could do that, why would you send a force after him knowing that you're all gonna die? Minato was a cheerful man towards his friends and his comrades. He was a happy man. But on the battlefield, he switched into something deadly. To protect Konoha, to keep his people, his villagers, his friends safe, he did what needed to be done, and that is why. He was given the position as Hokage because he knew what to be done, and he did it, no matter all the scar, all the emotional trauma, slaughtering thousands in minutes. There was many secrets about Minato. One of the biggest secrets in history was, well, he had a son. But the thing was, Minato died before that son could ever get to know him, or he could ever get to know his son. If the people had known that it was the man's son, they would have cheered him on, celebrated his birth because he was the son of their greatest hero. But fate, was a tricky mistress. Things turned out the wrong way. As we currently find one boy. He had blonde hair, but he was more on the paler side. Unlike the Yamanakas in the village that had bright, bouncy blonde hair, his hair was mostly pale blonde. But that wasn't the thing about him that made him stand out, it was his skin. His skin was unnaturally pale, and he looked like he was cold. Yes, he looked like he was cold. But actuality, he was not trembling. But the way he looked like he was having a fever or something, but no, he wasn't. He was perfectly fine. He had dark blue eyes. He was currently wearing a small black shorts that went down towards his knees. He was wearing a white shirt with a swirl in the front and a small jacket over it. As he was wearing black sandals as he made his way, everyone seemed not even to notice him that he was there. As someone bounced into him by accident, the person didn't even look back to apologize. He just made his way deeper over to the corner. People ignored him. For one clear reason that he did not know. He had something inside of him that scared them, and what they don't understand they were afraid of. Yes, they were scared, but he didn't know what it was. Through his entire life, people ignored him. People did not even look his direction. They did not physically harm him. They just ignored him. And that was even worse than being physically harmed. At one point in his life, he thought that acting out and pulling pranks would cause him to get attention, but he did not. Most things he didn't have the energy for, because his body was sluggish, and he was always tired most of the time. And thus he became an introverted person, always staying by himself. He didn't have any friends. There was only a handful of people that he could count on his finger on one hand that actually spoke to him in his village, and actually saw him as more than just a flesh bag walking. They saw him as a real person, and he was currently making his way to one of the favorite spots. As he arrived, a small smile came on his face as he sat down. The woman inside the booth turned as she saw him. Naruto-kan, said that smile, as Naruto was happy seeing Ayame. Ayame leaned over the counter as she placed a hand on his forehead. As Naruto pouted a bit. "I'm fine," he said. "You always look so sickly," she said. "Did you went to the hospital to get a checkup?" she asked. As he nodded, "The Hokage brought me. They said I'm fine. I guess I was born this way," he said, as he clenched his fist in and out. Ayame sighed. Perhaps you're right, she said. She didn't know why he always looked so sickly and so tired most of the time, but she knew that he was always tired. Probably some kind of birth defect or something. But Naruto-kun was a nice boy. He always smiled towards her, and he always enjoyed her ramen. She always tested out her new cooking on him. But for one thing, he was blunt. He always told her when they did not taste good. But the ones that he enjoyed made her feel proud, as she was on her way to becoming one of the best chefs ever. So, she said, the usual, as he nodded. Hey, where's Tuki? He asked. He's not here today. He'll be back later on, she said. Oh, okay, said Naruto. As he waited, she brought him his bowls. Thanks for the food, he said as he started to dig in. She watched him with a happy smile on her face. It was early, and there wasn't much people around here. Naruto was always here for ramen, as lunch, dinner, or breakfast. She worried about his health a lot. That is why most of the time she ended up sneaking him some healthy food, sometimes cooking for him. In actuality, he was like a little brother to her, and she knew that he's been going through a lot with the villagers, ignoring him all around. As she watched as he burped, he covered his mouth. Sorry, he said. As she realized that he was already done with his meal, as she chuckled at that. Want another? As he nodded, as she brought another bowl towards him, as he started to eat once again. Man, he sure do love ramen. Time skip. As Naruto found himself entering the office of the leader of the village. Hiruzen Sarutobi, a powerful man in all sense of the word. Despite his old age, he was said to be the god of shinobi, and not to mention the professor, a smart, powerful shinobi that was said to be a powerful, dangerous man in his youth. And he was still powerful to this day, despite his age of being the oldest Hokage. Ah, Naruto-kun, Hiruzen said, as he saw the boy. Oh hey there, JJ, said Naruto. He had a sad frown in his face. What's wrong? As Hiruzen then realized. Oh, you're worried, aren't you? Yeah, said Naruto. As Hiruzen knew why Naruto was frowning, he was worrying about the upcoming graduation tests. As Hiruzen motioned for Naruto to come, as Naruto came over as Hiruzen looked at the window, and Naruto mimicking his action. As long as you try your best, there's nothing for you to worry about. Really? Said Naruto. But what if I don't pass this time? Then you'll try again and try again until you succeed. After all, that's all we can do, isn't it? Try. I guess you're right, said Naruto. Hiruzen felt sorry for the boy. Hiruzen knew that he failed. He failed to do Minato and Kushina's last wish. Naruto didn't have any friends. He was barely living, he was just existing. He went to the academy and then he went home. Sometimes he stayed in the park, by himself, and that hurt Hiruzen, because he didn't have any friends. The most Hiruzen could do was keep him out of Danzo's clutches, who wanted to turn the boy into a weapon. But the thing was about Naruto was his chakra levels. Jinchurikis were known to have strong, enormous chakra levels, but yet Naruto's chakra levels were strangely subdued. Really subdued. As he had less chakra for his age than a normal genin. It was strange. It made no sense. Hiruzen had the boy tested, but there was no difference in his blood or chakra type or anything. He was just that way. And that confused Hiruzen, and no one could find out the entire reason about it. And that made things difficult for Naruto because certain things in school he could not do. Like perform the basic jutsus, he could not do them. This was his third try of trying to pass the academy. He had tried once before, but he wasn't successful. And the boy was worried about it. Hiruzen knew what to say to the boy. He wasn't ever going to be a ninja. But he just couldn't crush Naruto's spirit like that. So he let him go on, believe him. Hiruzen knew that that was a terrible thing to do. But seeing Naruto happy, knowing that one day he might pass the academy, it made Hiruzen happy as well. But in the way things are going, Naruto would never be a ninja. Because his body was just not suitable for it. And also he always got tired. Time skip. As Naruto was sitting in the class, today was the day, finally. Perhaps he would somehow manage to pass the day, even though he highly doubt it. He had absolutely no friends. It wasn't that he didn't try to meet them, it was just hard. He had tried to spoke into a girl once. He didn't remember her name well, but she had blonde hair like him. But the look that she gave him, it made him move away from her instantly. It was like she was repulsed by him talking to her, or what, he did not know. And from that day he just stayed by himself. All the girls in the class always fawned over the Uchiha. At this moment, as Naruto watches those two girls, yeah, there she was. That same blonde girl who he had tried to speak to. She didn't say anything to him, she just gave him a look. And he had just walked away. And from then he didn't talk to anyone else. No one else wanted to talk to him either. He always sat by himself. In the past he had tried to make friends but nothing ever worked out. As he saw the Uchiha ignore the girls, how would he kill for the attention that Uchiha was giving? He would do anything for them to see him as that. For them to even be friends with him, he'd do anything, but it wasn't working out that way. Alright everyone, Iruka said as he stepped in the class. As Iruka narrowed his eyes around, his eyes caught sight of a boy. That boy. Iruka did not like him one bit. As Naruto had something inside of him that took away Iruka's parents. His hatred for the fox inside Naruto seemed to rub off on Naruto just like ignorant villagers. He never once spoken to the boy personally. The only time they really spoke when he was doing the test and he failed them each time. And this was the third time and Iruka was sure that he would fail. But a small part of him hated seeing that look on the boy's face when he failed. But there wasn't anything he could do about it. If he was to go on the field right now, he would die. As much as he took from Iruka, well, the fox inside of him, Iruka knew that it would be unjust to send a kid like that on the battlefield, just to die. Today you will all be partaking in your tests, to see if you're ready to become Genins. Genins of Konoha to fight, and put your life on the line for this country. Are you all ready, he asked as he looked towards them. Most of their face was stern, but some of them were still acting childish. Most of them were not ready, he saw the look. But the determination in the Uchiha eyes were burning brightly. The Uchiha was ready and he saw it. Your name will be called one by one. After that you will proceed to the testing era, where you will be tested by myself and Mizuki. Get yourself ready. Today is the day that you find out whether you become a ninja or not. As everyone was excited. Yeah, I'm gonna pass this, Kiba said, that smirk on his face. Kiba Inazaka, from the Inazaka clan, as a puppy on his head barked. As Naruto watched all of them talking to their friends, he watched the two girls fight over Sasuke despite Iruka telling them to pick a seat. They were glaring at each other, one with pink hair, and the other one with blonde hair. But Sasuke seemed to ignore it all, as his eyes wandered around the class, until his eyes landed on Naruto who was looking through the window. Sasuke couldn't figure out that boy. He had no friends, he talked to absolutely no one. In a way they were similar, because Naruto did not care about the people around here. That is what Sasuke thought. And Sasuke definitely did not care about the people around here. The girls might bicker over him, but he did not care. He only wanted one thing, and that was to get stronger, so that he could get his revenge. That was the only thing that he wanted, the only thing that he always wanted. This did not matter to him much. But that boy on the other hand, it didn't seem like he wanted anything. He just wanted to be left alone. But who was him to be bothered by anyone else? As Sasuke focused back at the task at hand. The names were called as kids. Some of them came back frowning and angry. Some of them came back crying, while some of them came back happy with their proud headman displayed. As Naruto made his way to the room that would define his fate. This was the third time. After all, they said that the third time was the charm, right? As he slowly arrived towards the room, he knew that many people didn't like him, and he already accepted that. It seems like Iruka was one of those persons because he didn't treat him like the other students. He morally just ignored him. As Mizuki gave him a friendly smile though. That was strange. The man didn't pay attention to him either, so that was really weird. But Naruto did not pay attention to it much. Alright, you know the drill, Iruka said. As Naruto nodded. First, the clone jutsu. Naruto placed his hands together. Come on, come on, come on, he prayed to himself. As Iruka watched as there was a poof. Out of the smoke came absolutely nothing. As Naruto looked towards his hands. As Iruka felt the pity looking at the boy. As the boy looked down, he was angry with himself. I'm sorry, Naruto, but being unable to perform the clone jutsu is an automatic fail. Better luck next year, he said. As Naruto stood there and placed his hands back together. Poof! But nothing happened. It's over, Naruto, Iruka said. As Naruto clenched his fists. Why? Why couldn't he do it? He walked out of the room, not looking back. Why couldn't he do anything? He cursed to himself. As he did not return back to the classroom. He did not return back there. It's not like anyone would actually care, as he just ran away. running through the halls. Meanwhile, Hinata Hyuga, a shy girl in the class, looked around as she waited to see if Naruto was gonna come back. But he did not. She noticed a boy and he always stayed by himself. Many people seemed to dislike him, but she was just curious about him. Because she saw how he dealt with other people. She saw him talking to the ramen vendor, and he was kind and nice, but people didn't like him around here. Something that she couldn't understand why. When Aruka finished and he got back to the class, he saw that Naruto wasn't there. It seemed that the boy took it harder than expected. Mizuki frowned seeing Naruto not there. He had to find the boy, after all, he was going to use him. It was time that he reported to his master. Bringing something this valuable from Konoha, his master would definitely up his ranking, and even place him by his side as his number 2. As Mizuki smirked to himself. Time skip. As Naruto was on his swing. From here he could see the parents. As he saw them greeting their kids, hushing the ones that failed. And he saw Sasuke. Just like him, Sasuke didn't have anyone. As people were fussing over him, but he just walked home. As Naruto lowered his head, he then heard something behind him as he turned. Mizuki-sensei, he said. You weren't in class. Well, it's not like anyone would notice, said Naruto. You were looking for me? Yes, said Mizuki. Naruto was surprised to hear that. Why? What happened? Did I do something? No, calm down. There's something I want to tell you. You might not be able to perform the clone jutsu, but there is a way for you to pass. And when you do become a genin, you will be teach, so that you can learn and get even stronger. Really? How? Said Naruto. But that is quite simple, said Mizuki. Later that night, as Naruto was in the Forest of Death, there was something about Naruto that, well, was very initial in the Shinobi world. It was his ability to go unnoticed to people. As Naruto blinked in the background so easily, it was shocking. He was able to bypass security and enter in the Hokage's library and steal the scroll that Mizuki told him to take, and he should just learn one jutsu from it and then he would pass. As Naruto was happy to hear that. At the moment he was browsing through it, as he found something, the multi-shell clone jutsu. He skipped past that because he wasn't so good at that already, as he ignored that part. Moving through, he saw another technique, Photon Wind Style, Gale Palm. This seemed easy enough. He was going to make sure that he learned this. Time skip. 3 hours later, nothing. As Naruto cursed as he once again released a chakra that he could, the small burst of wind came out and barely shook the leaf on a tree. As Naruto dropped towards both of his hands and he panted as he was exhausted. He couldn't get it. No matter what he did, he just couldn't get it. As he clenched his fist in rage. Why? Why couldn't he do it as he slammed his fist against the ground? He then heard rustling in the bushes. He then turned to see a pissed off Aruka enter. Naruto, he shouted, as Naruto jumped a bit, despite seeing the man. Aruka-sensei, what are you doing out here? What have you done? What do you mean, Naruto asked? You stole the forbidden scroll of sealing. This is an action against the village. You can be seriously punished for this. Why did you do it? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? It is right there, said Aruka. Mizuki told me to take it so that I could pass the test. What? Mizuki told me that if I learn a technique from school, I will pass the test. Mizuki told you that? Yes, said Naruto, tears in his eyes, as Aruka saw the boy was not lying. And what did he told you to do afterwards? He told me to come out here and that he would be by shortly. Did I do something wrong? Naruto asked, confused and scared. As Aruka realized that the boy did not know what he was doing. But that meant Aruka had to move as the Homa Shuriken embedded where he was. As Naruto gripped onto the scroll tightly. You had to find him, didn't you, Aruka? Mizuki, what the hell is going on? Out of everyone else, it had to be you. Huh. Mizuki scoffed. You know, you're really something. You were the one that informed the Hokage. So it's you, said Aruka. I won't even beat her in the bushes. Yes, it was me. But I'm afraid I can't let you leave here alive. Why are you doing this? Why are you betraying? I was never with Konoha to begin with. So don't tell me about betraying in with a fire or anything like that. Naruto, take the scroll and run, Aruka said. Naruto, do not run, said Mizuki. As Naruto was confused. Despite after what he heard, he still gripped onto the scroll tightly. Hey, you want me to tell you something, Naruto? About why everyone hates you? Why they ignore you all the time? Aruka pulled out his kunai. Mizuki, you can't. As Mizuki simply smiled, it's because you're a demon. Naruto's eyes went wide at that. I'm a demon? Yes, that beast. That monster that attacked the village all those years ago. It's you. You're that demon, that beast. As Naruto was surprised by that, it made sense now. After all, who would want their children going near to a demon? As Naruto was shaking visibly to his core. And he did what he did when he was scared, he ran. Damn it. As Mizuki leaped after him, both him and Aruka clashed. As Naruto stopped running after a while, his legs giving out on him because of exhaustion, as he was already using up most of his chakra after trying to perform the wind technique. After a moment or two, he heard someone calling his name. It was Aruka. He slowly crawled out of his hiding space as he looked up. As Naruto trembled and wondered if he should tell him that he was here. But what if Mizuki found him and tried to kill him? As he could not run anymore, he was so tired. Aruka-sensei, he said. As Aruka came over, Naruto, I found you, he said. I was looking for you. Come on, let me bring you back to the Hokage. As Naruto reached out, unaware of Aruka's hand behind him. As Naruto grabbed the hand, the moment he did, he felt a sharp pain in his stomach as Aruka drove a Fuma Shuriken inside of him. The Fuma Shuriken ripped through his stomach and teared through his back. With the force that the man drove it inside of him, as Naruto was slammed into the tree, pinned up against it. As Naruto looked down, blood gushing from his mouth. Aruka-sensei. There was a poof as Aruka revealed himself to be Mizuki. Stupid brats. Mizuki had to move as kunais came down. As he leaped away, as a wounded Aruka came out, clutching onto the wound on his side. His eyes went wide, Naruto his head, but a brutal kick smashed into his face, launching him back. Don't take your eyes off the target, said Mizuki. Why, are you trying to help him anyway? He is the one that killed your parents. No, he's not. He's just a kid. I've been an arrogant fool all this time. I've been no better than the villagers, ignoring him in most regards, said Aruka as he looked at the boy who was gonna die, swinging away from the blood loss. And this was gonna be more problematic. Don't worry, once I kill him, the demon will be forever extinguished, and you'll have nothing to worry about, said Mizuki as he saw Naruto. His hands were limped at his side. The scroll had fell from his hand. As the blood was pouring, Mizuki then pulled out a kunai. Have to finish you off as well. Don't want any hunter ninja after me so soon. As Mizuki started to walk, as Naruto was losing consciousness, everything went white. Meanwhile, in his cell, the fox growled in annoyance. What the hell was going on? As everything was getting so dark. So dark. Meanwhile, for Naruto, he was lying down. He was lying down on water. It felt so sticky underneath him. It felt so sticky. As he wondered what was going on. As he slowly tried to pull himself up, but his body was so weakened he could barely move. Was he dead? He remembered getting stabbed by Mizuki that was transformed as Aruka and nothing more. So he was gone, huh? As a few tears slid from his eyes. Maybe it would be better this way. He would be sad that the old man, and Ayam, and Toki. He would be sad that you never see them again. But maybe he could meet his parents that died in the war. The old man told that his parents died in the war, and maybe they could be a family once he meet them wherever he would go after his death. Yeah, maybe that is the reason for his death today. He should just give in and meet his parents. Perhaps then people would stop ignoring him wherever he end up. As that brought a smile to his face. But the ground under him started to shake. As Naruto blinked as he looked around. The water that he was on was red. It was not water, it was blood. As Naruto was confused where he was. As all the blood around him started to seep into his body, confusing him. It poured into his eyes, but he felt no pain. As it poured into his veins, it poured into his fingers, his feet. But he felt no pain, he felt actually nice. He didn't feel tired anymore, he felt different. As his eyes started to change, his heartbeat started to speed up, beating so frantically. It seems like it was gonna explode. Back in the real world, as Aruka was struggling to get back up as Mizuki was gonna deliver the final blow. That is when the both of them felt it. A bloodlust. So deadly, it got the both of them on their knees within seconds. Mizuki was on his knees as he was coughing badly, as he could barely breathe. He did not understand what the hell was going on, but this was not normal. It was then that Iruka saw what was going on. The foam was shrinking in Naruto's body. Strange red lines started to run across it before it crumbled away into dust. As Naruto dropped on his feet, he was looking down on the ground, but his body, the blood that was leaking from had stopped, and it was being pulled back into his body. As Naruto started to walk, but he looked like he wasn't in control of his movements. He then slowly looked up. Mizuki didn't know what was going on, but he pulled his kunai to protect himself, and that is when Naruto moved. Mizuki blinked and he was shocked when the boy came at him with such speed that wasn't possible for someone his age. Mizuki drive the kunai forward though. He was not attuning for nothing. But despite his eyes being closed, Naruto leaped over the kunai and landed on Mizuki's back. Before Mizuki knew what was happening, he cried out in pain as Naruto bit into his neck. He managed to spin and throw Naruto off as Naruto crashed into the tree. But as he grabbed his throat, Naruto picked himself up slowly. As his mouth was leaking blood, he was smiling, a wicked, demonic smile. His eyes then finally snapped open, and they were different. It was 6 triangles that were pointed towards the center, and in the center was a plus. In both eyes, 6 triangles that pointed towards the center, the tip, and in the center of his eyes was a single plus. The plus in his eyes were red, and the triangles were all white. As Naruto looked up, he didn't seem like he was thinking things through, because look in his eyes clearly tell that he had gone, well, inhuman. I told you that he was a demon, Iruka said Mizuki as he moved forward to end this demon existence once and for all. The blood that was dripping from Naruto's mouth ran down towards his hand. As Naruto shot his hand forward, Mizuki didn't expect this as a spear made from blood. But it wasn't soft or squishy, it was made. It seems like it was steel as it ripped through his stomach. Mizuki was shocked. The spear then broke apart so quickly, as it flooded Mizuki's body the blood. Before, Mizuki cried out in pain, as his body was pierced from all sides. As they protruded from his body like a porcupine, he dropped to his knees. As he was about to collapse over, but his head was grabbed, is here to be exact, by Naruto. As Naruto looked him dead in the eyes. More, he said, as he bit into Mizuki's neck. Mizuki couldn't do anything. He couldn't run, he couldn't scream, as one of the spears had burst right through his stomach, going up to his mouth, ripping into his tongue. As he just stood there, dying slowly. As Naruto drained him, taking away every sip of blood out of his body, his hungry gaze then turned towards Iruka as he started to walk. The blood off his clothing and the blood off his lip and his hands started to tremble as they started to burst into gas particles that surrounded Naruto like a mist, a red hazy mist. Iruka then noticed the ground where the red mist touch was burning. It seems like it was literally acid. As Naruto's smile was intense, Iruka couldn't protect himself. He was too wounded and weak. Naruto, calm down, he said. But Naruto was not listening as Naruto's smile seemed to increase even more as he moved forward, only for him to stop and clutch his head as he cried out to the heavens. It only took seconds as Anvus flooded the area as Naruto collapsed face first on the ground. As the Anvus looked over towards Iruka, as the medic of the group quickly rushed over and started to heal his wound before he would bleed out and die. As Iruka released a sigh when he looked at Naruto and the boy, his body, it was changing. Time skip. 2 days later, as Hiruzen lay a dangerous glare towards the medic that was in the room as she shuffled. He's doing okay, Hokage-sama, she said. I am not certain why he's not waking up. The woman had refused, well, she thought that she had a choice on checking Naruto because of who he was. But Hiruzen was here, so she had to do her duty, otherwise face the wrath of the Hokage. As he dismissed her from the room, the other medics said the same thing. They would not dare to lie to him. Hiruzen didn't know what was going on. He had received the report from Mizuki that he saw Naruto stealing a scroll of sealing. But indeed it was Mizuki that tricked Naruto and stealing it from what he heard from Iruka. He knew the boy would never do something like that. And now, the boy wouldn't wake up. After what he heard from Iruka though, he was confused. At Naruto doing such thing. And not to mention Naruto taking down Mizuki. Naruto wasn't even able to fight Genin on his own level. From what he got from the academy records at the school, when he fought the other Genins in the test, he wasn't any match for them. So how was he able to take down Mizuki? But Iruka told him some rather gruesome thing. Well, not to mention the state that he saw Naruto in covered in blood. They could be believed if you took a good notice at it. Hiruzen felt that pressure in the room. The next moment he snarled. "And what do you want?" he said. As sharp as ever. As a man that stood there was a man with a cane. Bandage covered half of him, as one of his arms are also in a sling. "I heard there was some problem with the Jinchuriki." As Hiruzen gave Danzo a hard glare, the man simply looked back at Hiruzen unfazed. "This wouldn't have happened. If you have given me him from the beginning, I would have trained him, so he'd have been strong enough to not be in this pitiful condition after just a mere chunin. It doesn't matter what you say, Danzo. I would never give him to you, for you to turn him into an emotionless weapon. Hiruzen, as much as I hate to say it, you have gone soft over the years. The man that I used to know back then that would make the tough choice for Konoha is gone. Just because of these war times you believe that it's time for you to get soft. But I assure you, Hiruzen, you will come back to regret this." "Is that a threat?" asked Hiruzen. "Of course not." "Who? Do I think I am threatening the Hokage? I'm just merely stating something. The other nations has their Jinchurikis. Do you think that you're not training them to be the best that they can be? And this boy is a pitiful excuse for a Jinchuriki." As Danzo looked at Naruto's face, the rest of his body was covered by the sheet. Danzo did notice something strange about him though. He seemed to have changed a bit. But that wouldn't pique his interest because Hiruzen would never let him get his hands on him. Leave. That was all that Hiruzen said, tired of seeing Danzo right now. As Danzo simply left, without another word. Hiruzen then heard groaning after Danzo left, as he snapped his head around as he saw Naruto slowly stirring in the bed. As he turned his head to the left before turning to the right. As he blinked a few times before he closed back his eye because of the bright light, Naruto considered Hiruzen. "JJ," said Naruto. As Hiruzen released a sigh of relief. "I'm glad that you're okay, my boy," he said. "Where am I? What's going on?" "Don't you remember?" Hiruzen asked. "Not really," said Naruto, as he still had his eyes closed. "Am I alright?" As Naruto then grabbed his head, his hand raised so quickly, as he massaged his forehead because it was paining him. His eyes then shut open as Hiruzen was startled by the eyes. The medics and Iruka told him that there were some changes with the boy's eyes when they had scanned his pupil. But this was unexpected. Naruto's eyes were completely different. It more looked like a bloodline of somehow, with 6 triangles pointing towards the center and a plus in the center. "Naruto, can you see me?" "Yeah," said Naruto. "Hey JJ, I feel really weird." "How so?" asked Hiruzen. "Well, the noise." "What noise?" "It's too much," said Naruto as he placed a hand over his ears. "What are you talking about?" "Don't you hear that? That man screaming." Hiruzen was confused, because he did not hear anything at all, as he didn't know what Naruto was talking about. "Naruto, are you sure that you're feeling alright?" "Medic!" Hiruzen called out. As the medic came back in the room. "Hokage-sama, he's awake. Would you mind checking over him?" The medic nodded as she went towards Naruto, cooling her features. "Remove your hand, please," she said. As Naruto slowly removed his hand as he winced a bit at the noise. It sounded like the man was right next to him, screaming in his ear. The next moment it was gone. As Naruto looked at the woman, as she came close to him, as he looked towards her neck, as he saw something strange, a vein, pulsing right there. Not to mention, he felt to move closer. "Naruto," he stopped himself when the old man called him. "Are you okay?" Hiruzen asked. "Yeah, I'm fine," said Naruto. "Hokage-sama," as the medic turned towards Hiruzen, "his heartbeat is unnatural." "What do you mean?" "Sir, I can't explain this, but to the way his heart is beating, he shouldn't be alive." Hiruzen was confused, as the medic made him listen. As Hiruzen heard it, His eyes went wide when he heard Naruto's heartbeat. It was like it was beating 1,000 times per minute. 10,000, something like that. As Hiruzen looked at Naruto worriedly, Naruto was confused because he felt fine now. Other from the bright light, he felt fine. So he was confused why they were looking at him so worriedly, especially his JJ. Run all the tests possible, Hiruzen said. I want to find out what is wrong with him. But JJ, I'm fine. As Hiruzen gave Naruto a kindly grandfatherly smile. Don't worry, they will just be testing you out, okay? As Naruto nodded. Time skip, a few hours later. As Naruto was once again in his bed, he didn't know what was going on. He's been through a lot of tests. And he didn't know what happened. They poked him, they did this, they did that. Strangely enough, he felt like he was all over the hospital for one reason. He didn't know why. Meanwhile, at the analysis department. What the hell? The research department that studied the blood. The head member there was confused. Hey, come look at this. As his subordinate came over. What is this? A new trick or something? I'm not doing this, the man said. As the blood in the capsule, the blood that they took from the boy was literally breaking the capsule. This must be an illusion, or he couldn't get to finish that as it broke through and scurry away. Meanwhile, as Naruto lay there, he took in a deep breath. The next thing he knew, something flew in his mouth as he swallowed. What the hell? He was confused what was going on. He shook his head. He felt fine. Not to mention he felt strange. He hadn't looked into the mirror the entire time. As he figured that he should go to the bathroom to see his face because he felt strangely different. It didn't really make sense, but he felt different. As he got off the bed, strangely enough, he collapsed right on his face because his feet hit the ground sooner than usual. He didn't know why. As Naruto slowly picked himself up and groaned, confused of what was going on. As he wiped his face before stepping into the bathroom, he noticed his hands looked more refined. They didn't look as scrawny as they did. Strange. It was then that he blinked when he noticed his eyes. He screamed. A few seconds later, what's going on in there? He heard the medic voice. I'm fine. Are you sure? She asked. Not wanting to be on the Hokage's bad side if something bad happened to the boy. Yeah, I'm fine, said Naruto. Alright then. If anything happens, you know how to call me, she said. Yeah, thanks. She grumbled as she went away. As Naruto was confused, his eyes. But not just his eyes. He wondered if the old man noticed this as well. His body looked different. He was no longer that scrawny. His skin was still pale, but he looked more cold now. He looked like he was extremely cold, but he was not. Not to mention what the hell happened to his hair. There was red markings in his hair. As he got a handful of water and splashed it over his head, trying to wipe out whatever this thing was. But it wasn't going away. It was like his hair was getting dyed or something while he was asleep. He was confused by the whole thing. He picked up the towel and wiped his face and wiped out his hair, confused at what the hell was going on. As he felt a sneeze coming on, as he took a breath, before sneezing, the next thing he knew, the glass exploded. As Naruto stepped back in fright, when he noticed a small needle inside of the glass. Where the hell did that come from? As he looked around, but the bathroom was too small for anyone else to be near, the red needle impaled and broke the glass. It then turned into mist. As Naruto stepped back as he watched the glass fall, he knew it was going to make a ruckus, as the medic was going to rush in here as well. He could tell that she didn't like him, but he heard nothing. He then saw the strange red mist holding up the glass. How was that even possible? It had expanded into a wide circle and hold up the entire glass. Naruto was confused. He reached out to touch it, but before he could, the red mist overtook the glass, and the red mist flew back into his body. As he looked at his hand frantically, but nothing happened, he took a deep breath. Before he dropped, his hand slammed into the ground because of the weight, the unusual weight. He then looked towards his hand. His skin was reflecting back at him. He screamed once again. This time the medic did not wait as she barged inside the bathroom, as she threw open the door. as Naruto turned, accidentally waving his hand towards her. Immediately, she was grabbed by Hiruzen, who had entered the room and pulled her away. Several sharp glasses dig into the wall. If Hiruzen had to move, her head would have been torn right off. Naruto, Hiruzen said. "What are you doing?" "It isn't me," said Naruto, as Hiruzen turned back his head in the room when he saw Naruto's arm that looked like glass. Hiruzen was confused as he looked at the boy, who was on the verge of screaming once again. "Calm down," Hiruzen said. "Everything's gonna be fine." "JJ, it won't turn back to normal," said Naruto. "Can you feel your arm?" Hiruzen asked. As Naruto looked towards it and his fingers started to move. "Yeah," he said. "But it's so heavy." As he lifted up, he looked towards it as it reflected towards him. "Why is it not going away? Why is it not going away?" he said. As he raised and dropped it to the ground by accident, and it broke. Hiruzen's eyes went wide. He expected Naruto to scream out in pain, but he did not. As Naruto watched as the broken glasses turned into red mist, and it connected to the stump of his arm that was left, and it regrew. As Naruto watched in shock as his arm returned back to normal. "What the hell?" the nurse that stood there said. As Hiruzen was also shocked, not knowing what to say or what to literally do, because he didn't know or had the faintest idea what the hell was going on. Naruto was shaken to his core. He was also shocked as well. He had no idea what was going on. Time skip. As Naruto was sitting up in his bed, Hiruzen looked at him. As the doctor went over the chart, "I'm afraid there is nothing out of the ordinary, Hokage-sama. Except for his increase in heartbeat that is slowing down at the moment, but it is still unusually fast for someone his age." As Hiruzen nodded as the doctor left. "How are you feeling, Naruto-kun?" he asked. "Fine," said Naruto, as he sniffled a bit. As he wiped his nose. "So, there's nothing wrong with me," he said. "It seems that way." "Then how do I explain what happened in the bathroom?" said Naruto. "Sorry," he said. "I didn't mean to raise my voice." "I know, you're just scared," Hiruzen said. "And when people are scared, they do things out of the ordinary. So there's no need to apologize. Just calm down." As Naruto took several deep breaths, he didn't know what was going on or what was happening to him. But this was definitely not normal. Not normal at all. As he calmed himself, he felt something. "Hey, JJ. Yeah? I can feel... I don't know how to say this, but I can feel something circling through me." "Your chakra?" Hiruzen said. "No, not that," said Naruto. "It's almost like I can..." As Naruto held up his palm, as blood started to leak from his palm, Hiruzen moved over. "Did something cut you?" he said as he grabbed Naruto's hand. "No," said Naruto. As the blood did not leak on the bed, nor did it leave his palm despite him turning his hand upside down. Hiruzen looked towards the hand confused. "What is this?" he said. He tried to touch it, but before he could, it ran back into Naruto's body. As Naruto looked at it confused. "Did you do that?" "No," said Naruto. I don't know." "This is strange," Hiruzen said. As he looked towards Naruto, his mind started to run on the possibilities of what this could be. His eyes then widened. "What's wrong?" said Naruto. "Oh, nothing," Hiruzen said. "This is just strange. Have you seen your eyes?" As Naruto nodded. "Well, seems like we're gonna have to find out what this new thing is. This bloodline or dojutsu or what." "You mean I have one of those cool eyes like that strange clan?" "I think so," Hiruzen said. "But never in my life, and it has been a couple of years, have I seen anything like this. So I'm weird, a freak? No, don't think of yourself as that. You're rare. Although, Iruka told me that Mizuki told you about your condition." "Yeah," said Naruto. "Now I understand why everyone hate me. It's because I'm a fox. I'm a monster. I'm a beast that kills so many people." Hiruzen grabbed him and told him to never think like that ever again, because he wasn't a beast. But at the same time, Hiruzen was thinking about something that, well, something that he never thought that he would have to go over. It was something from Naruto's past, from Naruto lineage. His mother was Kushina Uzumaki, the clan that she came from. They had something rare that only appeared once in one person. It was like a strange phenomenon, like Hoshirama Mokitan. There was this man called... Harrison couldn't quite remember his name, it was a long time ago. But the scroll that was left behind was now here at Konoha. After Uzo's destruction, after what happened in the past, after Uzo had fallen and all the mayhem that happened afterwards. Harrison remembered clearly what happened. Things that were out of the normal, out of the ordinary. Strange things happened a few days afterwards. But a scroll was left behind at the island, right at the shores. And it had been brought back to Konoha. And there was some cryptic words in it. Harrison didn't know why, but he had a good feeling that this had something to do with Naruto's new abilities. And you will find out what it is. But guys, be in subscribe right here. If you want to see the next part and do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notifications to get posted. Remember to share to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode over in the making of What If Naruto Became the Shadow of Konoha, and enjoy that guys. And remember, for anyone this is the first time hearing my voice, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Making family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking back to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace out.